has a new book to help guide you with these steps to grasp your confidence and own your power. I love that.
Look around the room. You'll see that you're not so alone after all, and that unconfidence could look like any of us. Maybe your whole life you have been told that the best wins, but I'm telling you right now that the best known will win. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing on this Wednesday morning? I will go ahead and share my screen, but let me know where you guys are watching from, where you are watching from. So let's use this as a opportunity to network a little bit. Go ahead and drop your links in the comments if you want. Today's webinar, it's all about building the vessel. Building the vessel. Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that term, vessel? What does it mean? What's it all about? And why is it important, right? So this is some of what we will cover today. Building the vessel to support wealth, aligning with divine abundance. And this is so important, right? That we not just make money for the sake of making money, to keep it for ourselves, to hoard it, to not share it, to do something ill intent with it. It's about building wealth and money that's in alignment with our divine purpose, that's in alignment with the creation for which we were designed, the idea, why were we individually designed? So when we think of wealth this way, in a divine sense, we see that it's actually a really good thing. So let's see who is tuning in today. We've got Amy Ratcliffe. Amy was on the last webinar. Hey, Amy. So we have a surprise visitor at work this morning, so I'm not sure how long I can stay. No worries, Amy. I hear you. No worries. But yeah, put your city, state, country in the comments. Let me know where you are watching this webinar from. Maybe you're on LinkedIn, maybe you're on Facebook, maybe you're on YouTube. This is airing in a bunch of different places. So let me know where you are tuning in from today. So I just want to do a quick little recap. In the last webinar, what did we cover? So in the last webinar, we covered God's original design. What did it include? Well, I referenced the scripture in Genesis where in Genesis it says the gold in the land was good. So from the very beginning, God's original design was abundance. Remember, Adam and Eve, they didn't have anybody to buy or sell from. So why was gold present in the Garden of Eden? Well, it was present because that's God's design for us, is that abundant state. It's overflow, right? We also talked about breaking our agreement with lack. At some point in time, most of us have accepted a reality that lack is normal, that having less than what we want is okay, right? That success is maybe even, we have a money block, maybe it's for greedy people, right? So in the last webinar, we unpacked a lot of that, those limiting beliefs around money, and actually discovered that, well, the more wealth that we have, the more we can give, right? The more people we can help. That wealthy people are creative. They, have creative capacity about them, right? And all of these are good, godly things. But we also talked a little bit about our thoughts becoming reality. In Think and Grow Rich, which is a secular book from Napoleon Hill, published in the early 1900s, it talks about how we think becomes the manifestation of our reality, right? But this was actually a lot older concept. It was in the Bible. So in Proverbs 23:7, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Well, that was way before Think and Grow Rich came into existence, right? So as we think, we become. This is so important. So before we can step into wealth, before we can obtain a certain level of success in life, it's important to understand that our thoughts become our reality, right? So think about that as we go through this webinar today. And let me know as well, as I'm talking in this webinar, what's resonating with you? What is maybe a light bulb moment for you that's something you never thought of or considered? I would love to hear how this is supporting your growth. So let's begin on this week's webinar with awe and reverence for the Creator. Now, when I think of God, this is the first word that comes to my mind is creator. I think about his creative capacity. He's always creating. And the great thing is that science even confirms this. Space, the universe is expanding. It's expanding at a rapid rate. And God is constantly creating. So his creative force, his creative energy knows no bounds, right? So everything that we see around us from our, beautiful earth and all of the creation within it to outside of it and all of the amazing planets and star systems and galaxies, it's an infinite creation. So the creator has never stopped creating. And if we think about it this way, that would mean our creator is an infinite source of abundance. And I like to think of it as an endless power generator. Endless power generator. What do you think about that? Endless power generator. So when I think of, an endless power generator, I don't think of anything that I can't have, that I'm not able to create with God's help, right? And that's the whole principle behind this is bringing God into your business, bringing God into your life, having God be your business partner in all aspects of the things that we do, right? It's not just on Sunday, one day a week, or when we're praying. It's how to bring God and become a partner with him, right? And when you're a partner with the infinite creator, what can't you do? What aren't you capable of? You start to realize you're capable for a lot of things, right? And with a lot of things. So this is what I'm talking about. It's about pairing and partnering with God, the infinite creator. And again, space is still being formed all of the time. Endless creation here on earth and beyond. So there is no limits to God's creativity, just as there are no limits when you partner with God and you align your thoughts, like we were talking about. When you align your thoughts, it becomes your reality, just like Napoleon Hill said in Think and Grow Rich. So I love this in Psalms as well. Psalms 145:16. You open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing. Love that. Here's my friend Ido Khalib joining me from Israel. Hello, Ido. The creator of the world, that's what we call him. Yes, the creation of unlimited possibilities is up to us to release them. Absolutely. And I love that. That's so true. It's all about the unlimited possibilities and again partnering with God to unbox all of this for us because we can't do this on our own. We're creation, not the creator. So we need a partner in this. But I love what you said there, Ido. And let's see, another comment from Ido. It is ours. I think what you are saying is so important to understand that in the end, everything is up to us. Absolutely. The thing about it is, it's there for us. At any point in time, God is there waiting for us to reach out to him. Love that. So let's talk a little bit about the illusion of lack. Because I've said this to people in the past that lack is actually a lie, it's an illusion, and scarcity is a lie. And people tend to question that. They don't understand what I mean by that. So let's unpack this a little bit. We talked a little bit about in the beginning that there was gold in the Garden of Eden, the gold in the land was good, right? So there's never been lack. We can go outside at any point in time, pick fruit off of the tree, right? So creation is continuing to create. We can go out and mine and find gold right now that's untapped in a resource no one knows about. The infinite abundance that exists just here on this earth is truly extraordinary when you think about it. So, lack is a lie, it's an illusion. It's a state of mind. A state of mind. And this goes back to where we were talking about think and grow rich, our thoughts become a reality. Lack is a state of mind. It's not the rule, it's the exception. So, I want you to think about this. Lack is absence, isn't it? So we can think of lack as darkness, darkness, the absence of light. And darkness is not a thing in itself. Think about that. It's just left when the light is missing. How does that resonate with you? Darkness and lack is not a thing within itself. It's just what's left after the light is missing, when the light's not there. So if we're in a state of lack, if we're feeling scarcity, fear, there's a lack of light from the Creator. Think about how important that is. And if you're in a state of lack, and we've all been there, right? We're human beings. You feel like you're in survival mode. You're unsure. You're living day to day, worry to worry. And those compound over time, just like interest in the bank, but in a bad way, right? The opposite is true when we're in alignment with God's light, with the Creator. We become a state of steady and sustainable abundance. And in fact, it can't help but come to us. In physics, we refer to this as having affinity for something, that like attracts like energy attracts like, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And Ido, he's joining us from Israel. So I'm going to be talking about some Christian, scriptures as well, but also some ancient Hebrew mysticism in here. This is really interesting and important. It's about aligning with the Creator, who's the source of abundance, not aligning with the lack. So important. So let's talk about why we get these blocks from receiving, because I know opportunities are coming to us every single day. Now, yesterday I was with a client and I gave her an analogy. Stop me if you've heard this one. Have you ever heard of the red car analogy? The red car. Okay. So, for example, today, how many red cars have you seen on the road, guys? How many? Maybe it's one, maybe two, maybe you haven't seen any. That's possible, right? Well, if I were to tell you that before, when you get up out of your house and leave, and I say to you, for every red car you see today on the road, I'm going to give you $100. Would you not go out of your way to look for red cars? Of course you will, right? In fact, you'll probably come to me at the end of the day and say, I found 1,000 red cars. Thanks for the payday. It's not that the red cars didn't exist before I gave you this offer. I think we can all agree on that. But one keeps you open to the opportunity. One, you're in a state of unawareness. So The opportunities are constantly coming at us all the time. The abundance, the success, the opportunities, the networking, the people are constantly coming in our lives all of the time because the Creator is sending them to us. However, we can block ourselves from this abundance that the Creator is trying to send to us. How do we do that? Well, we can compare, can't we? We can compare. We can look on social media. We can look online and we can say, you know what, I'm just not as good. That idea that I had that's so great that God planted in my heart, somebody's already done it better. That person, they have more of a platform than I do, or they have more of a this or that. And we can compare all day and contrast and keep ourselves from blocking what we're supposed to receive. Right? Oh, Amy has a really good comment here. Let's go ahead and shine the light on her. As a person in recovery, I know that comparison is the thief of joy. Amen. They teach us that very early on. So true. It really is. So, comparison is the thief of joy. It's also the thief of confidence. It teaches you that you're not whole as you are. And guess what? That's a trick of the opponent, the adversary. Wants you to believe that even though you're made in the divine image of God, that you're not like somebody else, right? All of that is a lie and it's not true. So comparison is the thief of joy, the thief of confidence, and it's also a main blocker for receiving abundance. We can also disconnect. We can disconnect from our relationships, our relationship with our Creator, our relationships with other people. What about our relationships with ourself, our family, right? And anytime we create space, we open the door for more space, more disconnection, more blocks. So this can take some time to chip away. This is not something necessarily that happens overnight because some of us have space that's really, really wide, really thick, and it can take time to chip away. But the good news is if you take the time to first pause and see what's going on, right? See the blocks, see how we're blocking our own success and receiving. And we pause instead of react, we're going to get so much farther, so much quicker, right? Another way we can block abundance from coming into our lives is a lack of gratitude. This is interesting. Gratitude. When I wrote my book, How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power, grasp, for those who don't know, who are unfamiliar, is gratitude, responsibility, action, sight, purpose. It's the 5 pillars I used to transform my life when I was at my lowest point, when I was at my rock bottom point. I read a book and it was called The Science of Getting Rich, published in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. I referenced it in the last webinar. And in that book, it really did change my life. But I realized that as I was reading the book, gratitude in that book is chapter 7. And when I read gratitude, it was almost like I was reading it for the first time or hearing it for the first time. I was receptive to it in a way that I've never fully been receptive before. And there's a saying that when the student's ready, the teacher appears. It's so true, right? And I was ready at that moment. But I realized that gratitude is not chapter 7, it's chapter 1. Because once I started aligning with gratitude and really creating a relationship with it, I started to realize that it's actually a continuous prayer. And this was something I always wrestled with in scripture before this moment, that, we have 2 scriptures. One says to pray without ceasing, and the other says faith without works is dead. And I always wrestled with those 2. And I thought, how can you pray continuously and get any work done? Right? It didn't make sense to me at the time because the student wasn't ready. But once I started practicing gratitude, I started realizing that gratitude is that continuous prayer. And it's how we tap into the Creator as a divine source. And it's almost like a thread that connects us, a tether that connects us to God continuously. So that gratitude is like a living prayer. It really is. And without gratitude, we can cut ourselves off energetically from God's alignment. So think about that as you're going through your day to day, as you're going through the rest of your life. Are we complaining more than we're grateful? Because we have to ask ourselves at the end of the day, who are we following? Who are we worshiping? Who whose alignment are we pursuing? We're either pursuing the dark side, or the light. That's it, right? All right, I'm going to introduce a really powerful metaphor that changed the way I think of abundance forever. Let me know in the comments what you think about this because this really completely shifted my perspective. Let's say you have a 60-watt light bulb, but you try to put 100 watts of energy into a 60-watt light bulb. What's going to happen? Well, the light bulb is going to shatter into a million pieces, isn't it? Now, if you think about it, there's nothing inherently wrong with the energy that went into the bulb, is it? There's nothing wrong with that. There's also not anything necessarily wrong with the light bulb itself. The problem is compatibility. The light bulb wasn't fully compatible with the energy that went into it. It was too much for it to handle. So, a few weeks ago, I shared a post, hopefully you caught it, and it was about lottery winners. Now, there's an interesting phenomenon that a lot of lottery winners who go on to win a massive windfall of money actually end up losing it all in just a couple of years' time. And the average person like you and me may think, how is that even possible? How can somebody win $500 million dollars and then lose it all or be in a worse financial position after, right? How can somebody win $500 million dollars and be in a worse financial position than they were before they won the money? They can become bankrupt or even more. And I actually had a example of this when I was growing up. I remember someone in just a couple towns over won a huge lottery jackpot. They bought this humongous house, all these fancy cars, and all of these things. And then, boom, wouldn't you know it, just a few years later, their house was foreclosed and they lost everything. Now, I was only a kid when this happened. I think I was maybe 11 or 12, something like that. And it confounded me. I said, how is this even possible? Right? But the thing of it is, it's actually a light bulb. They weren't energetically compatible with the amount of energy that flowed into them. So there's a lot of programs out there about getting money, how to make money, how to do this and that, and get instant success. We hear this a lot nowadays, right? Instant gratification, instant success, instant money. But if you don't have the vessel to support the energy inflow that's coming to you, your light bulb will break and you won't be able to sustain the wealth and success because there's a lack of alignment. So, this is so important because we must become the vessel capable of holding the blessings we're asking for. It's not just about asking God for great things to come to our life, asking God for success and for money or clients. It's about really having the wisdom and the capacity to hold it. What do you think about that, guys? Let me know in the comments how that's resonating with you. So let's talk about that. How do you build this vessel that I'm talking about? Because it's not enough to get an influx of money and then lose it all. Nobody wants that. It's about being spiritually mature enough to hold the divine abundance without breaking, right? Can I get an amen to that? So that's what we're going to be diving into today, because wealth isn't just about money, it's about energetic capacity. So, how can we do that? Well, we touched on gratitude. Gratitude is the foundation of expansion. This is why I call gratitude the foundation of confidence, and then confidence is the foundation for success in life. Gratitude in itself helps us build that sturdy foundation. And when I delivered my TEDx talk last year, I used this analogy of a building. You can have the greatest pillars, you can have the most sturdy roof, but if you don't have a foundation, if your foundation is built on shaky ground, if it's built on sand, no matter what you do, it's going to fall. So we have to have that foundation built so that we're ready to receive, right? Again, so much information out there right now about building the roof, about building the pillars. Not a lot of information right now about building the foundational principles that actually help you build that sustainable success. So, gratitude, absolutely number one. But then it's living in alignment with the creator, right? Just like Ido said, living in alignment with the creator through obedience, through surrender, through faith, and spiritual discipline. Not through distraction, not through chasing the next shiny thing that comes along, not through instant gratification, not through comparison or competition with somebody else. Because if we're in the lane of purpose, then we're in alignment with God's original design for us and for our lives. You'll quickly find out there is no competition anyway, right? So, living in alignment with the Creator and His design for your life, so important. And then removing those blockages like ego, fear, lack, and doubt, right? And I've heard this before, ego. It's such a great one. Steal this. Ego is edging God out. Oof. Think about that, right? So every time we feel ego, it's really just edging God out of our lives. And every time we do that, we're disconnecting from the Creator, from all of that abundance He has coming for us. So, in order to purify the vessel to hold the sustainable wealth, we first need to remove the blockages. And I have another analogy for this coming up that you'll love too. And then we need to be a generous person. So, in the beginning of the webinar, we talked about God's attributes and how He's the creator of the universe. That makes Him very generous, doesn't it? So, the light is an endless source of abundance. God is an endless source of giving, and He's constantly creating more. So, if we want to become that vessel for abundance, we need to align with His attributes, don't we? And part of that is being a very generous person. And I like to, when we hear the word currency, right? I like to think of it as a river, current. A current doesn't flow in somewhere and stop and get blocked, it keeps flowing. So when we have money come to us, we should also give some back. And the great part about all of this is that the more money we receive, the more we can give, the more like the Creator we can become. Think about that. How powerful is that? But positive thinking alone is actually not enough. And this is what I really want to drill in today. Because we're taught that if we just replace and put positive thoughts in our mind, that eventually everything will work out. Eventually, we will rewrite our program. Eventually, the abundance will come. But it's actually not enough because we need to remove those blockages, those negative words, those negative thought patterns first. So think about this. Again, going back to the analogy of a vessel, if you have a very expensive bottle of Dom Perignon champagne, guys, I've never had Dom Perignon. I don't know how expensive it is, but let's just say it's $1,500, $2,000 a bottle, okay? And you have a very expensive bottle of champagne, and you just drank coffee out of a styrofoam cup from a gas station, and there's a little bit of residue in the cup, right? Would you pour your expensive $2,000 champagne into this vessel that's dirty? There's nothing wrong with the champagne, is there? The champagne is fine. But if you take a premium product and you pour it into a vessel that's dirty, that's not ready to receive the blessing, it's going to contaminate the energy that comes in. This is why it's so important to build the vessel. Building the vessel. Now, we'll take a very beautiful champagne glass, and then we pour the Dom Perignon champagne into the beautiful champagne glass. Now it's in alignment, and we can enjoy the champagne. We can enjoy the experience. We can appreciate it. Think about how powerful that is. So it's not about praying for success, praying for more money, praying for more clients. It's about praying for the wisdom to sustain the success, sustain the wealth. I like to think about Solomon a lot as well, King Solomon. And I used this analogy on a podcast not that long ago. Someone actually asked me at the end of the podcast, I didn't know what she was going to ask. It was really kind of a cool thing. She said, if I could have one wish, what would it be? I thought about it for a moment. And it's so easy to say, I wish I had, $1 billion. I wish I had a ton of success. But I realized that's actually not, the end goal. The goal is to sustain the success, right? So I thought about the Bible and I thought about King Solomon. And King Solomon, during his life, he had a vision. It was a dream. And in his dream, God asked him, basically, what do you want? Do you want the kingdoms of the land? Do you want this and this and this and this? The notoriety, the success, right? And what did Solomon actually ask for? He asked for wisdom. He realized that through the wisdom, all the other things would be added to him as long as he was in alignment with the Creator. That's the key. It's not about asking for all of these windfalls of success. It's about aligning ourselves with wisdom, with godly wisdom, right? So I thought that was such a cool question to be asked on a podcast. I was not expecting it. But as soon as I said that, it just felt like the truth, right? It felt like the truth. It's the wisdom that we should be asking. And when we ask for the wisdom, the vessel gets purified, right? The vessel becomes more purified over time. So I love this analogy because it reminds me every day to align myself with the things that God really wants for my life, right? And it's just such a simple analogy, so powerful. So let's talk about these negative thought patterns because this is very important as well. We talked about comparison as being the thief of joy, the thief of confidence. And the first thing that a lot of us do every day is compare. It's compare, it's contrast, it's stealing our confidence and our joy, and it's creating negative thought patterns. So, the first thing to do, and I mentioned this a little bit ago, is to pause, right? To pause. The enemy wants us to react to him, to react to others, right? He wants us to be reactive. He doesn't want us to pause and observe him. But the moment you start to pause, when you feel this reactivity building up, when you feel these negative thoughts coming, and you pause, these negative thoughts start to lose power. So we have options, right? We can either let them fester, let us ruminate. And I used to have a real problem with this. I had a real problem with anxiety and depression and ruminating thoughts to the point I would lose sleep at night, ruminating constantly. And it felt like I could never switch off my brain. It was, when I look back at it now, it feels like a different person. But when I look back at it now, I thought I was so misaligned with the creator. And that's why, right? So think about it this way: the enemy wants us to pause, he doesn't want to be observed, he wants to be obeyed. So the best thing we can do is to silence him through observation and pausing. So powerful. It really takes that spiral that we're going through and stops it right in the center. And anytime we do that, it loses power and loses control, and we regain the control. So important. But awareness is everything. It's about being aware, being intentional, understanding what's in our environment is triggering this and eliminating it, right? So important. And interrupting those patterns. Again, on the last webinar, I used the analogy of a record player. If we wake up and every day is the same, right? We're on a record player, we're in constant loop. It's about breaking that pattern. So anytime you catch yourself in this pattern of feeling like a record player, again, pause, take a deep breath, and say, this thought is not serving me. Disrupt the flow before it gains momentum. And then replace it immediately. So get rid of the thought, because your vessel needs to be cleaned. So the negative thought, get that out of there first. Then pour the champagne into the vessel. Do you guys feel me? Then pour the champagne into the vessel. Replace it immediately with a positive thought. So if you think something like, I'm having this negative thought, I'm not good enough, somebody else has done it, I'm failing, what positive thought can you replace it with? So, for example, if you just failed at something, maybe replace it with, what did you do well today? Right? So a lot of times during my coaching sessions, for example, with clients, if it's a TEDx coaching session, for example, the first thing most clients ask me after they rehearse their speech with me is, what's your feedback? And I don't like to give negative feedback because it reinforces the pattern and dirties the vessel and leads them to comparison. So instead, I ask them, what are 3 things that you really feel like you did right with this? It allows them to, one, have agency, right? And to understand that the things they did really well. And then comes the feedback, right? You're right. You did so well with that. And here's how we can make it even more effective. Not better, but more effective, more impactful, right? That's so important, because I think we're, in a lot of sense, looking for the wrong But if we can learn and retrain ourselves to look for the right, we'll be so much further ahead. And we'll see again the gratitude, right? Which is in alignment with the creator's attributes. And we'll be able to align with his qualities much quicker and really chip at that wall, that block that we've built for ourselves, right? And guard your inputs, guard your environment. This is so important. And I'm sure Amy agrees with me as a person in recovery, right? Your environment, who you surround yourself with, your daily activities. You have to audit yourself. And I do this all the time. I audit myself. Is this serving me? Is this making me happy? Is this leading to comparison? Is it leading to shame? Right? Think about these low vibrational things that I'm talking about: comparison, shame, guilt, disgust. If something in your environment is making you feel this way, remove it immediately because it's much too expensive, right? The price and cost of it is much too high and it's not serving you. So, for example, if you go on social media, and a lot of people, the first thing they do every morning is go on social media and they compare themselves with somebody they don't even know. Think about that, right? And already the first thing we're doing in the morning is comparing ourselves with someone. And it leads to, again, a lack of confidence, a lack of joy, a lack of alignment, a lack of gratitude for what we already have. So guard your inputs, change your environment. If something is causing you to feel a lack of joy, lack of confidence, I promise you it's much too expensive. Remove it from your life. So I want to invite you to learn more about this because honestly, I don't think we can hear this enough. The world we're so inundated right now with pressure, comparison, lack of joy, lack in general, right? Scarcity mindset that it's causing us to spiral. It's causing us to be a thief of this joy, a thief of faith, a thief of alignment with the creator who made us in his image to begin with for a specific purpose. I don't think any of us can hear this message enough. And that's why I created this retreat that I have coming up in January 16th through 19th. The retreat, I love that. Thank you so much, Amy. I'll put your comment on the screen. And thank you so much, by the way, Amy, for sticking with me to the end. I know you're at work today. We can't hear this message enough. And it's about reprogramming our mindset so that we understand our biggest purpose, so that we can truly be fulfilled in life and ultimately go after all of those gifts that God already wants to give you. But because our vessel isn't built yet, it's actually his mercy that sometimes we don't receive this abundance. Again, if we go back to the lottery analogy, a lot of lottery winners are in worse financial condition after winning the lottery just in a few short years than what they were before. So, in a lot of ways, in a lot of respects, it's actually more merciful sometimes if we don't get what we want because we're not ready to receive it. It takes a lot of wisdom to get there. And ultimately, I don't think we can do this alone, right? And this is why I created this space. I wanted a place where we could come in, gather together, learn scripture, align with our divine assignment as a group, and go to the next level of success, whatever that looks like for you. This can't be done alone. This is work. And the thing of it is, we were never designed to do this alone anyway. That's why God created us all with an individual purpose, with individual gifts, so that we could help each other on this journey of life, to help ascend to the next level of success, of faith. And this is why it's so important, again, going back to our environment, to guard your circle. You want to make sure that the circle, your environment that you surround yourself with, are with like-minded people who share your same goals and objectives, who want the best for you, who can take you to that next level that you're looking for. And it's about partnering with God along the way, in your life, in your business, in all aspects of life, so that you can fully align with Him and serve others really, really well, with integrity and with love. That's our purpose. And regardless of who we are, our purpose is to contribute to the collective, to better other people. My goal at the end of the day is simple. I want every single person that I interact with in life or in business to feel an increase after just being in my presence. That's the gift I want to give. That is the gift I want to give. And that's why I created this. And I am excited about this because it wasn't my idea. I mentioned that in the last webinar, I think. I was on a layover in Salt Lake City, waiting for my plane, and that was divinely constructed, by the way. And this idea for this retreat just came to me. The message that I received was, it's going to make me tear up. Whew. I want you to help my daughters. Phew. Step into their callings with confidence, knowing I'm there for them. But the message I specifically got was, I want you to help my daughter. Before that, I never really thought about it like that. And that's why I know this was not my idea. And it really deepened my faith to know that I was a vessel for His will. And so powerful. My faith is stronger right now than it's ever been, and I'm so grateful. And at the end of the day, I just want to share this with more people, because we live in this world of constant comparison, and that's not God's design. So if that resonates with you, I would love for you to join us on this retreat. And by the way, I have 2 copies here of books, either one of my books. I would love to give them away to at least one person, maybe 2, whichever one is your goal. If your goal is to build more confidence with the foundation of gratitude, hear more about my personal story, I would love to mail you a copy of this. Or if your goal is to go after really big things like speak on stage, and on the TEDx stage specifically, and go after some really amazing things in success in life, I will send you this one. So let me know, send me a DM. All I need is your address, and I will mail that out this week. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Just remember, the last message I have for you today is, you are so, so loved. And all of these gifts that God has for you are on their way. The question is, are you open and ready to receive them? God bless. Thank you.